They were, they asked Robert Bond if anything had been tied to Joan to weight her down in the water. And that was asked multiple times in the interview. He said no, but then he'd go on and say, but he didn't say he didn't, kind of leaving it open. Then all of a sudden, through Trooper Palumbo, who provided a photograph to the FBI for a bankruptcy case, which had nothing to do with Joan, supposedly, it was a smokescreen. They locate this woman. The FBI interviews her, and all of a sudden she comes out with a tabloid sensation. My lover boasted of being a mob hitman, chopped up bodies, tied cinder blocks to them, and dumped them in the ocean. Mr. Burke completely misrepresents her testimony. He lies in the book about when she is located because he says she is the source that helped locate that boat in his book, and she was not located until a week after that boat was brought up. And she refused to testify at the trial. She refused. She was sick, absolutely sick. And she did testify in the pretrial. It was all over the papers. And she wanted to, this woman was just, nothing backed up what she said. There were no cinder blocks found on the boat, no sawing tools, no body parts, no blood. There was no glass. There were no liquor bottles. Mr. Burke is not telling the truth, and yet he is putting this book out there as true crime, and you've got a DA's office out there now claiming that they're using this book as a basis to solve other crimes. They're going to hurt other people, because I guarantee it hurts. It hurts to realize how a family member, you go through the pain of them being missing, you go through the pain of them being gone, and then to find out that everything you've been told about it isn't true. To disrespect Joan Webster in that way is inexcusable. She had a hole in her skull that had to have been inflicted with incredible leverage, a full swing of, a pipe or a bat, or it took out her entire the right side of her head. And, that doesn't happen in a crammed little boat with a whiskey bottle,
No.
a big whiskey bottle, a lumbering gallon or so whiskey bottle. And it doesn't happen when somebody can't get that kind of, he couldn't even raise his arms in that little boat cabin. And,
right.
and Mr. Burke also claims, that he's holding on to Joan at the same time with his other hand because he tries to explain splinters that Mr. Paradiso got in his finger that were treated about the time Joan disappeared, and he tried to claim that those were, he got those when he inflicted the fatal blow to Joan. When I went through the documents, I was actually able to see everywhere where authorities were able to pull out information. For example, part of the statement that Bond made claimed that Lenny said he slipped on the rocks. Well, it was kind of rainy the night that Marie Iannuzzi was murdered, and he dumped her out on a bank of rocks by the Pine River. That's where she was dumped, not that Paradiso dumped her there, but that's where she was dumped. And one of the first officers on the scene, when her body was found the next day, he slipped on the rocks, and he testified to that. And all of a sudden, it ends up in, Mr. Bond's statement. It's, I can see where everything came from.
Yeah. In my notes here, when we're talking about Bond, in January of '83, Tim Burke, Palumbo, and Tamero meet with Bond and offer him a manslaughter charge. Bond granted a retrial. Now, the reason why Bond was in jail when Paradiso came in was because he was in jail on a murder charge, correct?
That's correct. It was his second murder charge.
Second murder charge.
Second murder charge. He had gotten out on parole, and within months, he had actually murdered the woman who was a prison advocate who had helped him get a parole, and he blew her brains out. And I've got a couple of news articles that describe that and his sentencing and whatnot. His trial started on December 9th. He and Paradiso were both moved into the Charles Street Jail on December the 8th. They had no opportunity for any interaction that day, as he claimed, because there was a lockdown on that day. Mr. Bond's cell was moved from the third pier and moved down in proximity to Paradiso's cell. The whole thing was kind of set up so that, questions could be posed, and I could even, imagine Paradiso, throwing back, oh, yeah, right, yeah, I dumped her in the ocean, saying something that would normally be so ludicrous because it is ludicrous. This was November 28th, 1981. The weather was bad, and extremely windy that night. You couldn't get on a little boat and go bobbing around. You couldn't.
Well, this is a very, I hate to say it, but we are out of time. This is a fascinating case, and it needs the transparency, and it needs someone to take a look at it. And I can't wish you enough good luck in your quest to get this out there. I can't thank you enough, too, for being on the show with us tonight, Eve. It's just been such a pleasure. And I hope you'll come back and do this again sometime. We can do another follow-up.
I would very much like to. I mean, there's a lot here. It's a lot for people to absorb, I know. And that's why the website's there. I hope people will take time to look at it and go back and look at it, because I'm updating things. I add things. I'm trying to help it be a coherent thing to follow, because it is difficult, and I understand that. I've lived it. So, therefore, it's easier for me to go in and grasp, but even I get stymied at times going, oh, my God. I can't thank both of you enough for giving me an opportunity, to talk about Joan's case. It deserves to be heard. She deserves the truth.
Right, she does. And Denny, would you have any closing thoughts?
Well, I agree. It's a case that certainly needs to be pursued, and I hope we can get with Eve again in the future and keep at it.
I would be more than happy to. This is a case very worthwhile. It was a young woman that was very worthwhile.
And thank you very much, Eve. It's really been, a horrible subject, but very nice talking with you, and you're very well organized, and I applaud you for your efforts in not giving up in this case.
I thank you so much. Good night.
And thank you, Eve, and good night. And thank you, Denny, as always. And if anybody would like to have their case looked at on our show, just send me an email at kim@crimeandmystery.com.